So on behalf of Chairman Senator Ayotte.
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank the witnesses for being here and for your service to the country. I would like to follow up, Ms. O'Connor. I don't know if you're familiar with Section 1036 of the 2016 Defense Authorization, but it is specific to the closure of the U.S. Naval Station in Guantanamo. And it actually says very clearly that the DoD cannot appropriate or spend any dollars to close or abandon the naval base in Guantanamo, to relinquish control of Guantanamo, or to implement a material modification to the treaty between the United States of America and Cuba about Guantanamo. So this provision of law, do you think that the President is going to Cuba, the Cubans want Guantanamo back, given this provision of law in place, do you think the President has any legal authority to implement a material modification to the treaty between the United States and Cuba? And also, do you think he has any legal authority to close, abandon, or relinquish control to Cuba, given this provision of law that is in place and is the law of the land right now?
I understand that Assistant to the President, Ben Rhodes, spoke to this a couple days ago and said there was absolutely no instance in which this was going to happen.
So my question to you, there's no instance this is going to happen, but my question to you, you're the lawyer, you're the general counsel, is there legal authority, yes or no? Is this law valid that we passed in this committee, and should the President follow it?
The President should follow the statutes that govern the executive branch, and the Department follows the statutes, has a practice of, and does follow the statutes that govern the Department. I have not examined that provision. My understanding is that nobody has raised any prospect of there being a plan of this happening. If I were confirmed and it were raised, I would certainly look at the legal issues that were involved in it. I'm not familiar with what exactly the processes are.
What role do you have right now?
Deputy General Counsel.
Well, you're Deputy General Counsel. You're not familiar with this part of the defense authorization on Guantanamo?
Senator, there are numerous deputy general counsels with different portfolios. I have not had the opportunity to dig into the law around that particular provision, and I think one of the reasons I haven't had an opportunity to do that is that absolutely nobody within the executive branch has suggested this is going to happen.
Well, I would suggest that this is a valid law. Not only should no one in the executive branch suggest that this is going to happen, but it would be against the law. And I would hope as general counsel, you would tell the President of the United States it's against the law. It's plainly in the 2016 defense authorization. So I want to know from you, these are some tough questions. If the law says plainly, for example, on Guantanamo, you can't modify the treaty, you can't change the base, you can't, and also with obviously the transfer of the detainees to the United States, are you going to tell the President that here's what the law says, so you can't do it?
My advice, if confirmed to this position, will be to the Secretary, but yes, absolutely, I will interpret the statutes and advise the Secretary according to what they say.
Excellent. I also want to ask you about another provision pertaining to Guantanamo. It's something I worked on in the defense authorization. There's a section of 137 of the NDAA which requires the Secretary of Defense to submit an unclassified report to Congress regarding the individuals that are being held at Guantanamo, their backgrounds, and to provide a list and information with the exception of obviously anything that would jeopardize intelligence sources and methods. And this is late. It was due January 24th. Somehow the administration was able to submit a plan to us, but hasn't actually given the American people the information about who's there, what do we know about them, how dangerous are they. And this is very important to me. And so I expect that report to be submitted really before this process on nominations go forward. So I hope that you will go back and ask the Department to finish this report. It couldn't be a more important time to have this report in light of the President's submission of this so-called plan to close Guantanamo. Will you do that?
Yes, Senator, I understand that report is in development.
I think it's very important that we receive it right away, and it's not going to continue to be in development. This is important to us if we're going to look at these issues. I also want to end with a final question that's very important to the men and women that serve our country, and especially our New Hampshire National Guard. I recently learned that our airmen at Ayotte Air Base in Qatar are being forced to live in potentially unhealthy facilities and may be getting sick from black mold exposure. Despite efforts by the local command there and repeated requests of our airmen, the situation's not been fixed. In the last month, approximately 100 New Hampshire Air National Guard members experienced unacceptable living conditions, and I'm told that this black mold is coming out of showers, it's in the bathrooms, it's in the curtains, and that some of our airmen are becoming sick and having symptoms as a result of it. So I would like to ask all of you, especially Mr. Carson and Mr. Wheeler, to have your commitment, if confirmed, you commit to looking into this issue, doing everything in your power to fix, to work with OSD and make sure that our men and women aren't being made sick by facilities, that obviously they're already in a difficult situation with the service they're giving us, meaning we're asking them to do a lot for us, and we're grateful for their service. So I'm just asking you, I don't want to hear from my guard that they're getting sick from mold. Obviously, they put their lives on the line, and I'm asking for a commitment from both of you that you will follow up on this.
Senator, as the acting principal deputy, I'll do more than just commit to you. If confirmed, I will immediately look into it and try to have something back to you by the end of next week with an explanation of what we're doing, a mitigation strategy about that. First I've heard of that, but I will take it for action and get back to you immediately about it.
I really appreciate it, and if you need any additional information, we're happy to follow up with you. Thank you.